Welcome to Return on Life, how to get the best return on life in your retirement. I'm Lori Ofterhar, and many of you have met me in the past 3.5 years since I've been here at Summit. And you may have known me as Lori Reynolds because I was married about a year ago, but I wrote a book that many of you have called Not It, An Approach to Life. And that is under Lori Reynolds. So I was married last year. I'll just pass that around. And I've been with LPL companies since 2005, helping people with their finances. Any questions about what I do here? My title is Director of Operations and Retirement Coach. So launched a retirement coaching program this fall to help you all with that transition in life, or if you're already retired, to help you tweak it if it's not quite right. So how many of you in the room are retired? Quite a few. So how many of you are contemplating retirement or planning it? Well, here's a few. Great. We've seen a lot of people retire in the last 25 years since we've been in business, and we've seen people struggle with this transition as well in a number of different ways. So we've launched this retirement coaching program to help you think about any of the issues you might be going through and to help you with this transition to have the best retirement possible. We have the complimentary coaching session basically starting now, and vision board classes. So many of you had possibly attended the vision board class I did a little over a year ago called Love Your Life, and here's a couple of examples of the vision boards and the vision book. So I'll pass those this way. So feel free, there's information in your packets about the vision boards classes, and those are on the first Friday of the month at 1:30. First question we typically hear in our office is, do I have enough money to retire? Well, that depends. First, we need to take a step back and look at, what do I want to do in my retirement? Most people spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than they do a 30-year retirement. So when we take that step back and align the dollars to our dreams, then we can look at the numbers. Retirement's not just about reaching a number. What's the point of building a nest egg only to put it in a dying tree? Let me change my screen here, see if this works. What's important is to get the best life possible with the money you have. The return on life approach to investing is about getting the most we can with the money we have, not just building a pile of money. Mitch Anthony, in his book, The New Retirementality, said we have to have enough money to sleep at night and enough purpose to get up in the morning. There we go. Gone are the days of mandatory retirement at 62 or 65. A recent study shows that almost 20% of seniors are working well past age 65, and another 50% or so are working at least part-time in their retirement. There's a number of reasons for that, but one thing for sure is that we no longer are retiring at a certain age just because we're expected to. So if you think about it, so I'm an author, so I think about chapters and stories and things. If you think about 3 chapters, you had your education, you had your working years, and then you retired. So that's the old way. Now we each have our own story with many chapters in our lives. Some people take time off to just decompress, and then they jump back into work. And some people take time off for family reasons or whatever, just to enjoy life, write a book like I did. Here's a brief history on retirement. Less than 140 years ago, retirement was invented by Chancellor Otto von Bismarck in 1889, and he created what was essentially a disability insurance program for invalidated government workers in Germany. He also mandated that they retire at age 70. Now, he was 74 at the time. I think he was grandfathered in. Then the age was lowered to 65 in 1916. 50 years later, during the Great Depression, FDR created the Social Security Act. Originally, it was called the Older Workers Pension Fund, and that didn't catch on because no one wanted the old fogey fund. So it was renamed the Social Security Act. 2 years later, the age was lowered to 62 when they realized that the average American worker had a life expectancy of 63. If this were a naturally occurring phenomenon or an organic principle, we'd see examples throughout history, and we don't. Also interesting is that in 1885, the average age of the German worker was 46. So the pension fund, the retirement age, was literally set at 24 years, past life expectancy. Retirement basically was an invention of the industrial age, around a model that stressed work with raw physical labor. There were assembly line jobs, and it was thought that a 20-year-old could replace a 60-year-old, that the 60-year-old would have a diminished stamina and motivation and could easily be replaced. So today's jobs and careers are more experiential. The been there, done that skills, the know-how, the intellectual skills, the relationship skills, or the know-who. And that's all less sensitive to age. If you have a major surgery done, do you want a surgery done by a surgeon who's done thousands and thousands of surgical procedures, or the one on their 13th? Obviously, you'd want the surgeon that had experience. So we live in an experiential age and not an industrial age. Things that were common back at that time, but no longer common today: retiring at age 62 and dying at 64, so the 2-year retirement, living in a company town, living on a company pension, and having the same job your whole life. Now, how many of you had the same job your whole life? There's one. What did you do?
Handle explosives.
Okay. Who else? What did you do?
RN.
An RN. Okay. Anyone else? Same job. So it's getting less and less common. The bottom line is, no one is going to take care of us in retirement. We must take charge of our own destiny. I like to say IRA stands for Individual Retirement Attitude. I will do what I want and not what others expect. I will create my own pension to thrive in the future. Now this one comes up, and I think it was blurry. Yeah, it was blurry earlier, so I'll just read what they say. So sense of identity loss, so retirement challenges. So we used to think that the only challenge in retirement was having enough money. Well, now we realize there are many psychological and lifestyle challenges as well. So sense of identity loss, I used to be Dr. Jones. Well, now who am I? Social and relationship challenges. Many people's social networks were tied to their careers, the people they enjoyed being with. Change in reduction of mental stimulation. So without proper mental stimulation or intellectual stimulation, Sudoku and crossword puzzles just might not be enough. So when the mental challenge declines, then the intellectual challenge disappear and the demise begins. Psychological issues around not getting a paycheck. Have you ever noticed someone morphing into Captain Coupon once they retired? Once a person stops getting a paycheck, the cost of everything begins to matter. Many people become bored without things to do, so they lose the structure and the significant something to fill their day. So when they're bored, most often they watch a lot of television, which can lead to a sedentary lifestyle, which can lead to a decline in health. And the last one on the bottom is anxiety and depression. People become anxious about money when they become retired, and they also become depressed when they are not having enough direction and purpose. Okay, we have on your packet my retirement observations. So enough about me talking about what I've learned about retirement. Let's find out what each of you have learned by checking the boxes on the form. So the slides are going to show this split into a couple of different slides, and for your convenience we'll put it all into one. So check the boxes of attributes you've observed for people not retiring well, and then check the attributes of those who have retired well. So what observations have you made of people who have retired, either well or not well? In my book, Not It, An Approach to Life, on pages 83 and 84, I write, one of the first steps you can do to make your dreams come true is become a people watcher. See how others rise and fall in health, wealth, and relationships. From this, you can identify which activities will work and which will not, and tweak as you go. I was a little apprehensive about trying the zip line for the first time until I saw someone else do it. Then I knew I could do it. This often happens when we do something or even contemplate doing something for the first time. When we see someone else doing what we want, they are showing us it's possible. By watching others, we see shining examples of not it without having to experience the personal consequences. And it's hard to watch someone else struggle. We see it every day somewhere in our lives. Witnessing others' struggles and consequences allows us to say not it and learn without experiencing the consequences ourselves. Or we identify this is it and watch a mentor go step by step where we want to be. So with that in mind, think about who are your retire mentors and who are your shining examples of not it. A Rand study talks about the the great unretirement trend, and revealed 3 reasons why people don't retire. Many underestimate the value of leisure, the lifestyles of working at least part-time, and sometimes it takes 3 to 4 attempts to get it right. Some people say, oh, I flunked retirement. Or the diminishing value on leisure. Have you ever met a grumpy old golfer? This one fellow I know of, he said, oh, when I retire, I'm going to golf. And that's all I'm going to do. 6 months later, he said, now golfing is my job. And that's what it was to him at that point. It's a job. So we need to find a balance between vacation and vocation. What these studies teach us is that vocation can add meaning to vacation, and the reverse is true. Vacation can help us appreciate our vocations. Shakespeare put it, leisure is a beautiful garment for a day, but a horrible choice of attire, a horrible choice for permanent attire. People with nothing to do become pessimistic, bored, and grumpy. So you can start going down paths that are not good, maybe not healthy, if you are bored and pessimistic, and you start going down paths that are maybe it's off to the racetrack or to the casino. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Well, let's meet for lunch or coffee or dinner or something. Well, that can become too many calories and too much cash. There's shopaholics that find something on television and then they run out and buy it, and they get home to clutter and a lack of cash. Now, all things in moderation is fine, but what's the cost of boredom? Do we have any worker bees in the room? A worker bee would be, I'm going to die with my boots on. I love what I do. And some of you may be just that. Now, Warren Buffett's a worker bee. He said that he was going to retire 4 years after he died. And if that's who you are, that's just fine. It's important to know who you are. And there's a perception that people don't work unless they need the money. And that's not always true. Bill's a retired IBMer, I know, and he works to get out of the house and to enjoy some socialization and just for something to do, as my cousin Kathy works as a pastor. So they both are keeping busy. It's interesting to note the top 4 reasons why people stay working: because they stay healthy, they feel better from the experience. A little extra money doesn't hurt. Enjoy meeting with other people and getting out of the house, and loving the challenge of getting things done. From the book Younger Next Year, talks about retirement. Now, Younger Next Year is mostly about fitness and staying healthy. Live strong, fit, and sexy until you're 80 and beyond. It says, don't retire at all. Work seems to give great satisfaction. Make a job out of your social life. There's a terrible temptation for us all, as we age, to close up shop and narrow our lives. Well, don't. It's killing us. Exercise our pack animal, our social gifts, as vigorously as we exercise our bodies, if we're going to lick that pesky tide. And the pesky tide that they talk about is that as we age, there's more of a resistance to getting out and doing things, and that includes exercise. Nurturing and preserving friends we have, the same of course as family members. They're not all perfect. We tend to get a little more judgmental and petulant when we get older. We're tempted to say, the hell with so-and-so. Well, don't. You can't afford to lose a one. Get back on the phone. Call everyone. Use email. Connect and commit. Just say yes. There's a terrible temptation to say no to stuff. As we get older, it's a hassle to do this or that, and we really don't need to. Well, except that we do. We need to do almost anything that gets us involved with other people. So you say yes to everything. Exercise. Make it your new job. They say in the book, when you're retired, it's your full-time job. When you're working, it's your part-time job. It's not if I'm going to exercise today, it's what am I going to do for exercise today? And there's a recent AARP bulletin. This is the latest bulletin. Just came out. And it talks about more businesses recruit and hire older workers. With unemployment rates at 16-year lows, companies are using creative recruitment strategies to attract older workers who bring mature skills and temperaments to the workplace. Part of the overall strategy is to make sure they're representative of the customers and communities. So that was CVS. United Health Group is ramping up the number of its 50-plus hires as well. Older employees are well organized, have strong communication skills, and they're capable of getting things done. It used to be we'd think, oh gosh, I'm in my late 50s, or I'm in my early 60s, or I'm in my mid to late 60s, or in my mid 70s, and nobody's going to hire me. I don't think I can get out and get a job. Well, that's not true anymore. Maybe it was true at one time. AT&T makes special accommodations for retaining older employees. They provide larger computer monitors, for one example. And the insurance giant, The Hartford, is tapping into senior centers and retirement communities to add staff. Just the other day, WCCO had an article, and it says the average American retires at 63. That's up from 62 and 97. So what's changed? Our culture has changed. Back in the 70s and 80s, more families relied on one income and one pension. The concept of 401ks then took over, which meant people had to rely on putting away their savings themselves. And at the same time, healthcare costs increase, people live longer, healthier lives, and some are choosing to stay in the workforce. Our attitude toward work has changed. A lot of people want to work because it's something to do and it gives them worth. Author Mitch Anthony has a definition of work, and that's an engagement that brings value to others and meaning to you. Now notice there's no money in that definition. So it could be a volunteer engagement or it could be paid. Anything that brings value to others and meaning to you. Some of you, work is a 4-letter word, and for some of you it may not be. For those that are still working, think about, what do I love to do at work on a daily basis, and how am I going to replace that when I retire? It's not what we're retiring from, it's what we're retiring to. I know of an attorney in his 70s, and he loves helping people and solving problems. So what's the expiration date on your intellectual, relational, and experiential capital? When is it time to go? You don't have to go just because others expect it. Go when you're ready to go. Go when you're tired, bored, worn out, weary of the experience. You don't have any more curiosity. You just don't care as much anymore. And then think about the word enough. Have I had enough? Have I had enough of work? Do I have enough? Do I have enough to do? Do you have enough money? Eventually, you do have to ask that. The word retirement means to withdraw. Most of us aren't going to sit around on a rocking chair biding our time in retirement. We're going to live while we're still living. The new Retirementality challenge is to pursue what's meaningful in your life. Challenge your mind and body and spirit. Go to the gym. Find balance in your pursuits. It's not all golf, or it's not all, one thing. Just find balance. Delay drawing down your assets, your distributions, because you just might live to 100 and beyond. And then keep your attitude instrument focused on the horizon. Set new goals, try new things, keep learning. Take a vision board class on the first Friday of the month, October through April, here, right in this room. Join me. So as the old saying goes, attitude is everything, and your attitude determines your altitude. Attitude's not a feeling, it's a direction. Do you have a direction going forward? Do you have horizons you're reaching toward? Satchel Paige was once asked how old he was. Well, he asked them back, how old would you be if you didn't know how old you were? Satchel Paige was Rookie of the Year at age 42, and he pitched his last major league in his 60s. We know that age and old are two different matters, and old is an attitudinal marker. Age is a chronological marker. We don't get old until we decide to get old. So if you want to add 7.5 years to your life, there's a Yale study that found the number one factor that can help you do that is to take a more positive view of aging. Just by changing our view of aging and maturity, we can add great years to our life. So instead of being pessimistic and apologetic about your years, rejoice in your years and all that you've learned, and talk about what's ahead of you and not what's behind you. Mayo Clinic did a study on stress and pessimism, and they found that attitude plays a major role in successful aging. In the book, The New Retirementality, the author talks about the vitamin C's of successful aging. And those are connectivity. Stay active. Stay connected to those you love and who energize you. Challenge your mind and body. Stay curious. A mind that's not learning is deteriorating. Foster creativity. Doing generative tasks has been linked to living longer and better. Live charitably. Helping others is its own reward and increases our sense of purpose. And here we have our bucket list. So ask yourself, what is on my bucket list? So if you're heading into retirement, make sure you're retiring on purpose. What will I do in my spare time? When I'm coaching people, a lot of times I see them getting bored in between all those big things they thought they'd do. So, okay, I'm going out west, I'm going to travel to Europe, I'm going to get all that scrapbooking done, I'm going to go through my files, whatever it is. But those moments in between, the times when you're booking your tickets and packing up the RV or whatever it is that you're doing, those are the times when you can become bored and be susceptible to some of those dangers that I mentioned earlier. Think about, where do I want to go? What do I want to do with my time? Well, I can, before it's too late, while I still have my health and my wealth. My husband and I were driving to Rochester to visit my parents. I told this story at another workshop, but we were talking about our retirement plans. We're not retired yet, obviously, but are planning it. And we had a silver Corvette buzz in front of us, and the license plate said before too late. And we're like, that's it. That's what it is. We want to do these things before it's too late while we have our health. So who has gone into retirement and done very well that can become your retirementer? Keep that in mind. Two most important questions you can answer as you head into retirement is, how will I spend my time, and how will I invest in myself? So that's your talents, your abilities, your skills and experience. Maybe it's through volunteer work. We want to see you have a successful retirement. A successful retirement takes work. You can't wing retirement and hope you keep busy. Now, a lot of retirees I talked with say they are busier now than ever, busier than when they were working. Is that true?
True.
Okay, I've heard that a lot.
How did you ever have time to work?
I've heard that a lot. How have you ever had time to work? Exactly. But what I want to ask you is it the busy that you want to be busy with, or is it the busy that, is it somebody else's busy because you have time? So think about that. Babysitting grandchildren, that could be it. Yeah, that could be it. So there's another profile you have in front of you called the Retirementality Profile. And that's going to help you to find out what kind of balance will be right for you. It makes you look at how you're wired. So some people like to fulfill leisure and renewal, and that might be by going to the gym or taking a class. Spiritual might be mission trips. Vocational could be teaching a class or volunteering. Connecting would be social time with family and friends. So the slides are going to be on multiple screens, but for your convenience, we put it on one sheet, double-sided. So what we'll do, and I'm going to put music on while you are doing this, but look at the boxes here. So there's groups of 4. Let's see, 4 is the best and 1 is the least. So make sure each set of 4 has a 1, 2, 3, and 4 in it. And then when you're done, you'll total the bottom, so your all your A's in the A column, B's in your B column, etc. And then you'll flip it around, and your A totals will be on your leisure line, your B totals on the connect line, C on the renew line, and D on the work line, and then you connect the dots and see where you're at. But you're all going to have a little bit different. And that's something that, if your spouse is here, compare notes. Because, look at what do you have in common and what separates you, and then how are you going to negotiate that? So you can take these tools home and talk about them and bridge those gaps or figure it out. Sometimes there's the yours, mine, and ours things. As I mentioned earlier, often couples head into retirement expecting to have the same life expectations and find out and become disappointed if they don't share the same approach. So that brings us to the couple's conundrum. Think about the art of retirement. So activities, relationships, time, yours, mine, and ours, how we want to spend it. It's also about pace and space and place. So you might not be on the same pace. You both need different space, maybe within your home. There's reasons for man caves and sewing rooms or whatever. Think about yours, mine, and our spaces. And then sometimes what I found when I've been coaching people is that the place where you live, your community, might not be right for both of you. A client that I coached a couple of years ago, her name was June, and she really had a dilemma. She wanted to figure out, her husband wanted to stay in their lake home, and although she loved the lake home, she really wanted more time in the city. She felt the lake home was too remote, and she really wanted to be in the Southwest in the winter. So what they ended up doing is she bought a small condo in Minneapolis so she could be in the city more, and they would travel to the Southwest in the winter. And what the point is they made it work for them. They looked through the whole situation. They decided what was going to work for them. They communicated. And so they bounce around to all three places. Sometimes they're each within that space and sometimes not. Think about pace. So when I think about being on a different pace than my husband is, I think about when we're running. So when we're both at the gym and both on, side-by-side treadmills, it's not a big deal. I can run at my 5.4 and he can run at his 6, and it's no big deal. But when we're out on a trail or a path or running a 5K or 10K or whatever, well, that 6 and that 5.4 don't match up, and he'll have to run a little slower and I've got to run a little faster to catch up. So, there's times where you might notice the pace being different and matter, and sometimes not. One couple I know of, he was just retiring and she was already retired, and she sat him down and she had him sign what would be like a prenuptial agreement called a pre-retirement agreement. And on those things, she said, no hovering, no micromanaging, not too much television, but then she added things that they like to do and things that were on their bucket list. And, they went back and forth a little bit and they laughed a little bit and then they signed it. So it was all good. In an article for Women Over 50, Divorce and Investing, Christy Archuleta, the program director of personal financial planning at Kansas State University, said, divorce may be the best answer for some couples, some marriages, when the couple grows apart. However, couples who have invested regularly into their relationship account, much like a 401k or retirement account, over the course of the marriage, can avoid that outcome. Much like investing regularly, assets grow over time. The relationship assets grow over time. And this means investing in making time for the couple without distractions, without the kids distracting, without work distracting. And obviously alone time isn't enough. Having open, meaningful conversation with one another about parenting, money, as well as life dreams and goals are important too. It's essential to keep that relational bond intact. Couples may become afraid of talking about something that might bother the other. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to take the energy and time to engage in such conversations because they know it's going to cause stress and strife. In my family, we used to say, don't poke the bear. You get somebody all riled up. As a result, important issues can go unresolved, and issues and partners may feel left alone, and they might feel like, I don't know who I'm married to anymore. We know that life experiences bring about changes in values, attitudes, and beliefs. They may have changed over time, especially if a couple has been married for a lot of years. Things change where they're involved in different circles of friends, maybe through church or work or their kids. They might have a life focus of the kids or work, and they've grown apart because they haven't had that time invested into the relationship. And in the past 6 years as a life coach, I've coached a lot of folks who are starting over after a divorce or loss of a spouse because of a death. And after that initial shock is over, and it's like, okay, where do I start? What's next? We want to help prevent gray divorce, and it's real. It's on the increase, and that's why we want to bring it up. We want to help you communicate because it's important. And it might not affect you, but it might affect someone you know. Maybe a pre-retirement agreement isn't such a bad idea after all. In fact, I wrote my book, Not It, An Approach to Life, right after I had divorced, after a long marriage. And on page 224, I write, for couples, there are so many things for a couple to do to keep their relationship strong. But one of the most important is to be present with one another and have an I'm here for the long-term attitude. Be your spouse's friend. Be his or her rock. Be the person he or she wants to turn to after a bad day or when times are tough with career, finances, or family. Have alone time, just the two of you, so you get quality time to share with each other. When you need to, spend your date night becoming united as a couple in your financial plan and spending habits. This will cut down on the number of arguments you have, guaranteed. Spend time looking at the next season of your life together. Discuss travel plans, family obligations. This is a great way to plan ahead so you get all those to-do items divided up between you so you can finish them with ease. Don't allow all your alone time to be spent here. You want to make sure to have fun and intimacy too. I'm not suggesting you monopolize your alone time with tasks. Just make sure to have a balance of both and communicate what's going on and be on the same page. Listen to each other's goals and dreams when you are one-on-one and support those, as well as the plans to achieve them. When you work as a team on these things, it will bring you closer together, strengthening your bond. So the divorce rate of seniors has doubled in the last 20 years. One of the reasons we're bringing this up. 16% of 35-plus year marriages are failing, and most upon retirement. 2/3 of gray divorce are initiated by women. 1 in 4 people experiencing divorce are over the age of 50. Reasons for the gray divorce? Retired hubby syndrome. It's not just the guys. I hear from the guys. They come into my office, or I've heard them over the last 6 years when I've been coaching, and they tell me all she wants to do is be grandma. She wants to go and rock the babies and go to all the grandkid activities, and now we have no time to do all those things that we plan to do as a couple. And he just wants to have her with him to go and do those fun things. But of course, he still follows me around, micromanages my every move, and he's grumpy. So the problem usually is with him. I want you to get the best life possible with the years you have, with the money you have. So I just want to thank you